Gopal, can we start now? I think it's already 12:05.
Yes, Ayush, you can start or we can wait maybe for 5 minutes more.
I think it will be, we can start. Meanwhile, the people can keep joining. I think
Yes,
because
yes,
it's
we can
not.
start then. We can start.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this 22nd session of weekly knowledge series or indirect taxation by Team Anivesh. Today, Ayush Agarwal, along with me, Gopal Sonika, will be taking session today, and the structure of the session is same as before. For the first half an hour, we will be discussing the important case laws of the past 1 week, and for the next half an hour, we will be taking up the queries of the participants. Gopal, you would like to start?
Yes, yes, sure. Welcome everyone to 22nd session. We'll start with the case laws as Ayush said. So I'll be discussing the first case. This case is from CSTAT Kolkata. In the case of CSTAT Kolkata, in the case of Berger Paints, so this was a departmental appeal before the CSTAT. And in the first appeal, the taxpayer, that is the Berger Paints, got the favorable order. So in this case, the appellant, the taxpayer had claimed certain ITC on the basis of input service distributor, on the basis of the ITC distributed by the input service distributor. So their manufacturer claimed certain ITC on the input services. This is with respect to the pre-GST regime. So they claimed some Senvet credit of around 1 crore 25 lakhs during the period 2012-13. And they had claimed that credit on the basis of some documents issued by their distributors, input service distributor. However, the adjudicating authority confirmed the demand on the same, saying that the documents on the basis of which the credit has been claimed, these are not proper documents and these are merely letters issued by the input service distributor. So these do not qualify as proper document on the basis of which the credit could be claimed. So the assessee went to the appeal before the commissioner appeals, and the commissioner appeals set aside the demand. Now, being aggrieved by that demand, order setting aside the demand, the department went to appeal before the tribunal. And before the tribunal, the department took this same stand that this ITC, in documentary evidence in form of ISD invoices or challans, they were not the actual documents, but they were only the letters issued by the distributor. The respondent, that is the taxpayer, argued that the factual details and documentary evidences were examined properly by the Commissioner Appeals, and accordingly, the demand was set aside by the Commissioner Appeals. Further, the taxpayer also argued that this was time barred with respect to the financial year 2012-13 because the show cause notice was issued on 24th of April 2017, and the primary ground for limitation challenging the on the limitation aspect was that these Senvet credit were properly shown in the monthly returns, that is ER1, and hence allegation of suppression with an intent to evade tax cannot be sustained. On both the grounds, on the merits, the tribunal observed that although even if the documents are not mentioning the term invoice or challans, but contain all the details which are required in an ISD invoice or the challans, as long as those details are there, it is sufficient for claim of credit. And on the limitation aspect, also the tribunal ruled in favor of the taxpayer that because the department was already aware of all the input credit being availed in the ER1, the allegation of suppression cannot be sustained, and hence the this appeal was dismissed. Since this was a departmental appeal, so dismissal means it was decided in favor of the taxpayer. Ayush, you would like to add anything on this?
Just
Ayush, you are on mute.
the cases. Someone Ronak Sharma ji has said that the voice is echoing, but it is clear to me. Can anyone else in the meeting confirm that whether it is echoing? Because Gopal's voice is clear to me, Ronak ji. So if it is echoing to anybody else also, then it might be a problem at Gopal's end. Yeah, is it echoing to you as well? Okay. Meanwhile, everyone else, maybe someone is typing. Let us move forward on this. So, I mean, the ratio that has been laid on by the sister in this, that the procedural requirement shall not take away the substantive rights of the assessee, right? Gopal, if I am uh,
Correct.
clear on the judgment.
Correct,
So I think
Ayush.
there have been many such judgments in the past as well of the, I mean, of the High Court, Supreme Courts, and other, and majorly of the sisters that once the substantive conditions of claiming the credit has been satisfied, no procedural condition as such cannot take away the benefit. So, I mean, yeah, this is not a new ratio, but a good judgment, I would say. I have nothing such as such to add any comment on this. You can.
Ayush, how do you see this judgment in the GST regime? Because in GST regime also, Rule 36 Sub-Rule 2 proviso specifically mentions that there should be at least those 4 5 details, even if the all the details as per Rule 46 are not there, but few details are there. But despite that, in many cases, it has been faced that department says that when all the details are not there, they dispute the credit. And the assessee ends up being in litigation. So how do you see this judgment in the GST regime? Specifically, when there is a provision itself in the law which says that there should be at least 5 details and credit cannot be denied, even if there is invoicing issue, it should be at the supplier's end.
Correct. See, I agree with this. In GST as well, the same principle can be applied. First of all, that the substantive conditions should prevail over the procedural conditions. And secondly, as you rightly mentioned, that when there is a provision under the law, department cannot, ad hocly come and say that these two rules, these two, particulars as mentioned under the rule are not there. So your credit can be denied until and unless those six particulars. I suppose there are six particulars that are mentioned under 30 rule 36. If they are there on the invoice, then ITC cannot be denied to the recipient. Now department wants to litigate it, then obviously we will have to fight it. But these judgments will obviously come to our aid, and we will get a benefit under the GST regime as well, from the GST courts as well. Okay, just a second. I'll just take up the next judgment.
Ayush,
So,
would you like to take up this next
yes,
case?
yes, I would like to take up the next case. Uh, the case that I would discuss is of Punjab and Haryana High Court, Messrs. SRO India versus the state of Punjab. I mean, in GST, we all must have seen there are many AI generated notices. Wherein, if I talk about UP specifically, this case is not of UP, this is of Punjab. But when I talk about UP specifically, I have seen that they, in fact, on the face of the notice of DRC1, they write AI notice. And in fact, even in the department, they discuss, when I was sitting with some of the officials, whenever you go to them and say that we have come with a reply to DRC1, they discuss that whether it was a AI generated notice or it was given by the officers after checking it. So they also know that AI generates some notice, and without checking it, they just send it to the taxpayer. Now, going one step further, what happened in this case is the order in original was uploaded along with DRC7. So, as an attachment, order in original was uploaded, and I'll read just few lines at the last that was included in that order in original. I'm quoting: "If you want, I can hyphen tighten this further with case law citation paragraph wise. Next, convert it into order in original reasoning. Next, add knowledge and connivance inferred from facts language. Draft a defense proof rebuttal against by a not responsible plea. Just say add OIO version or make it lethal." So you can very well see that whenever you write something on AI, you take suggestions from AI. After giving the answers, AI always at the end gives some reasons, gives some reasonings, or gives some suggestions as well that what more you can do to improve it. Department, without applying any mind, copied the same as it is in the order in original and gave the notice to the taxpayer. The notice was challenged directly in the High Court. What one thing, and obviously the Punjab and Haryana High Court said that these AI generated notices cannot sustain. Using an AI tool for preparation and issuance of notice is not to be shown permissible under the statute. And since the show cause notice issued has been primarily relying upon the AI tool, it does not have the requisite sanction in law. One thing that I would like to again discuss is this. At the end of the judgment, the High Court, the Honorable High Court wrote one line. Liberty, however, stands reserved with the competent authority to pass a fresh order in accordance with law by examining the facts of this case with independent application of mind. Gopal, you're there.
Yes, Ayush.
In many of the cases we see, I have one or few judgments as well that I will discuss later. Then, but in all these judgments, when we challenge the notice on its technicalities, whether it is say AI generated notice, say personal hearing was not given, or any other, when we challenge it on the technicalities, and we do not challenge it on the merits, many a times I have seen this trend now that high courts usually remand back the case. So is it in actual justice served, or just a chance has been given, one more chance has been given to the department, which otherwise should not have been given, because whatever the opportunity they had under the law, they exhausted it, whether by giving AI notice or by giving any other notice. But they, whatever the opportunity they had, they exhausted it, and now by High Court remanding back the matter, an opportunity again props up with them, whether in even if they were very negligent in their in discharging their duties at the first time. So how effective are these remand back by the High Court judgments?
So Ayush, I completely concur with.
You are muted, sorry. Yeah, thank you.
So I completely concur with your views that in all these cases when this is remanded back, especially when the time limitation is over, when the department does not have the time and now they are getting fresh time. So this is indirectly an injustice for the taxpayers. So I remember one case. It was not AI generated case, but in that case, what happened for the financial year 18-19, there were certain demands on 2A 3B mismatch, exempt ITC reversal, etc. So that demand was confirmed for 18-19. Now for 19-20, what department did? The demand was generated. Entire basis, entire the analytics, everything was taken from 18-19. Basically, 18-19 figures were reiterated in 19-20. And 19-20 demand was confirmed. Now time limitation, everything is over. Now when I went before the uh, departmental authorities, they said if you go to high court is most likely to give us more time. High court is most likely to remand it back for fresh adjudication, and we will consider everything as per 1920. We will get a separate time for that. So in that case, I think when the if the high court gives a, so what the department suggested me that better you get the order rectified, we will rectify it and you make the payment of the rectified amount. And the only uh, thought that I had, for 1920 there was no adjudication at the first place. The department did not even know what is the figure of 1920. They don't know what is the figure of, they have the records in GSTR 9. They could have made for 1920, but they have not done. So it means they have not. So if we see section 73 and 74, so even for the AI generated cases, the 74 73 reads, now 74A, it reads where it appears to the proper officer. Now, under which notification, under which circular, AI has been designated as a proper officer. So it appears to AI that there is a demand, or it appears to the system or the data analytics that there is a demand or there is a mismatch. But when the officer or when the proper officer himself is not doing that analysis, so if the High Court remands it back for fresh adjudication or for consideration on merits, I think it is injustice. I remember one case in the notice for 74 was notice under 74 was issued. Even after reply, the order was confirmed. In the notice, simply there was the notice was only one pager notice, including the letterhead of the this authority. Letterhead and signing part exclude करके it was only half a page, and the notice mentioned or the order mentioned you have procured certain supplies from so and so company, hence you are required to revert the ITC. No allegation that supplier has been cancelled, no allegation that it is not in 2A, no allegation that the supplier has not made payment of tax, nothing about the allegation. Simply you have purchased. So on purchase, ITC is allowed, not that ITC is disallowed. So if those matters go to High Court and if that is remanded back for fresh consideration, now the time limit for this adjudication under 74 for 1718 is also over. But if the fresh time is given, I think that is injustice. And even if the remand back is to be done, a fair chance is to be given to the department, relying on circular 181, I think, which says that if the 74 is converted into 73, if the 74 is converted into 73, correct me if I am wrong in this interpretation, they say that when the 74 matter is converted into 73, the notice on the basis of which this entire adjudication has been done, the original notice should have been within the time limit of 73. So when the High Court or any other authority is remanding back, there should be a guideline or there should be an instruction that remand back is allowed, but limitation should be computed as per 73 or 74 only. And when the limitation is over, there should not be fresh adjudication.
No,
So
I totally
that's my
agree with
understanding.
this. See, correct. There are 2 points to it. One is when the High Court is remanding back. See, High Court, I have not seen remanding back the cases where they have said that no, this is not a case of 74, this is case of 73. I mean, in my humble, in whatever knowledge, little knowledge that I have not seen any cases of High Court remanding back only on the issue because it was issued under 74. However, the case was of 73. The power is given to the appellate authority as well as the uh, second appellate authority, just GST, that what is written, I think this is section 75(3) or 75(3), I think, which says
75, 2 and 3 together.
75, 2 and 3 together, which says that if the demand is not of 74, I think I should open it because there are some specific words that, we should focus upon before, interpreting this section. Just a second.
So it says where any appellate authority or tribunal or court concludes that the notice issued under subsection 1 of 74 is not sustainable
Sustainable.
for
For
the
the reason
reason
that
that
charges of fraud, just a second,
correct.
has not been established to whom the notice was issued, the proper officer shall determine the tax payable by such person, deeming as if the notices were issued under subsection 1 of section 73. See, the one thing that I would like to, discuss in this is, it says that 74 1 is not applicable and it is the case that the fraud has not been issued, then the proper officer shall determine the tax payable by such person, deeming as if the notice was issued under section 73(1).
Correct.
So now when I say that I have deemed that the notice has been issued under section 73(1), then I will also have to check the timelines of whether section 73(1) or timelines of section 73 was followed or not. And if the notice was issued beyond the timelines of section 73, then can I say that the notice is time barred and the demand cannot sustain? This is one scenario. Second scenario is notice was issued within the time limit of section 73, but was issued under section 74. But if I compare the time limits of 73, then it was under the time limits of 73 only. The order was issued beyond the timelines of section 73 as it was a notice of section 74 that time. So order was issued under section 74 only. But when I compare it with the timelines of Section 73, it was issued beyond the timelines of Section 73. First appellate authority held that this is not the case of Section 74. This is the case of Section 73 only. So can I say that since the order is beyond the timelines of Section 73, now therefore the demand cannot sustain? Third case is again the notice was issued beyond the timelines of Section 73, but the order was issued under the timelines of Section 73 and the whole thing was done under Section 74. Now again at the first appellate or the second appellate level, the authority says that that the case is not of 74, this case belongs to Section 73. So in all these scenarios, first, second, and third, can I say that in all these scenarios the demand is time barred or demand cannot sustain, or do I have to look only at the timeline of the notice, that if the notice is issued under the timelines of Section 73? Because the word, if I read the plain language of Section 75(2), it talks about only the notice, it does not talk about the word order. So it says that the deeming as if the notice was issued under Section 73(1). The question is that whether because the notice, because the orders follows after notice, order is a consequence of a notice only. So if I saying notice, then it automatically assumes order as well, is the first argument. Or the second argument in the favor of the department, I will say, is that the plain language of the section says that only notice is returned, so I will only look at the notice. Or the third argument can be that even if it is issued beyond the timelines of Section 73, any notice, then also it is not time barred because it has been decided later on whether it is Section 73 or Section 74. Gopal,
So
if you
I use
have,
Yes, I was referring to a circular. I stand corrected. It was circular 185.
hmm,
So the circular gives few scenarios, and
hmm,
when we read 75(2), 75(3),
hmm,
uh, the for the notice they say कि it transpires from a combined reading of these provisions that in cases which do not involve fraud or willful misstatement, etc., the show cause notice in terms of subsection 1 of 73 has to be issued within 2 years 9 months. Therefore, in cases where the proper officer has to redetermine the amount of tax, interest, and penalty in terms of 75(2), the same can be redetermined for such amount of tax short paid or not paid in respect of a show cause notice was issued within time limit as specified under 73(2). Only the amount, therefore, only the amount of tax short paid or not paid, therefore, only the amount of tax short paid or not paid, ITC, etc., in terms of Section 73 of the CGST Act relating to such financial year can be redetermined, where show cause notice was issued within 2 years and 9 months from the due date of furnishing of annual return. In case where the show cause notice was issued under 74(1), was issued for tax short payment beyond a period of 2 years and 9 months from the date of furnishing of annual return, etc., thereby deeming the notice to have been issued under 71 as per 74, the entire proceeding have to be dropped. So the third case which we mentioned, if the notice itself is beyond the time limit of 73, entire matter has to be dropped if it
okay.
is converted from 74 to 73.
Hmm,
But from this circular and also 75 subsection 3, 75 subsection 3 gives a time limit to
hmm,
to redetermine the order, and then that is of 2 years. The period, further period of 2 years is given. So if we go by the circular 75(2) and 75(3), as you also mentioned that 75(2) only talks about the notice. So notice has to be within 73. It may be issued under 74, but the notice should be within 2 years and 9 months. If it is converted to 70 from 74 to 73, the officer will get 2 years for redetermining the amount. And if the notice itself is beyond 2 years and 9 months, then the entire proceeding has to be dropped. The date of order is not relevant in
so
as per going by this.
just one point, Gopal, in this. I think we should move forward after this as well because see, we are reading 75 and 2 and 75(3) together. 75(3) says when any order is required to be issued pursuant to the direction of the appellate authority or appellate tribunal or a court, such order shall be issued within 2 years from the date of communication of the said terms. Right? Is not sustainable. Okay. So no, I was just linking this provision with 75, which says that there is no power to remand back. So
10711.
10711. So if I say that there is no provision to demand back, can I say that under when the officer is saying that 74 is not applicable and 73 is applicable, then in that case they can demand back and say that redetermine the amount? Or
Maybe.
because in one of the cases, yes, because I remember this is only has to happen because in one of my case there was a huge demand of something in crores of 7 8 points, under which 74 and 7, all the demands was confirmed under section 74. So the first appellate authority, what they did was some of the demands they confirmed under section 74, some of the demands they dropped on the merits, and some of the demands they said that see, section 74 on this particular point is not applicable as it is not fraud or a willful misstatement. Therefore, a demand under section 73 is confirmed. However, this does not require redetermination of amount in terms of section 75(2), and hence the amount of rupees this is say 1 crore is confirmed with a modification in the penalty up to 10% other than 100%. So only penalty amount was modified. The demand was wholly confirmed. So, okay, now my doubt I think is clear that 75, I think the department, the first appellate authority has to remand back the cases in these cases where they are saying that 73 is applicable and not 74.
So again, there are two interpretation. One is that
Hmm.
this is not a remand back. This is only redetermination of the
Hmm.
amount. They will not go into merits, which is very obvious that if the appellate authority concludes it's not 74, it's 73. So they will basically reduce the penalty from 100% to 10%, reduce the demand for the only period within limitation, those things. And then there is there is one principle also, specific prevails over general.
Hmm.
So 75, 2 and 3 being specific, this should prevail over the general provision of 10711.
Right, right, right. I do agree with this. Like, I think we should also move forward.
Yes, yes.
We have discussed
So I'll
only.
discuss the third case, Ayush.
Yeah, please carry on.
Yeah. Okay. So third case, this is very interesting case. Again, very interesting case. This is from the West Bengal Appellate Authority for Advance Ruling, and this is with respect to the Indian Wire Products Company, which commonly runs its restaurants, cum hookah parlors in West Bengal under the brand name of Pappu Chaiwala. So this is the ruling from the Appellate Authority. The first, the We'll discuss the background with from the Advance Ruling Authority. So the issue before the Advance Ruling Authority was this taxpayer serves tobacco-based as well as herbal hookahs in a restaurant along with food, and the applicant wanted to gain an understanding whether this qualifies as a restaurant service under clause 6b of schedule 2 of CGST Act, because restaurant service are taxable at a lower rate of 5%. So whether this qualifies as a restaurant service under clause 6b, or whether whether supplying these tobacco based or herbal hookah should be classified independently as a goods, that is supply of goods. So from the AAR, that is the Authority of Advanced Ruling, West Bengal, the appellant argued before the authority that hookah preparation is a skill driven process. It is not merely a trading of goods, so it should not be considered as a supply of goods. Further, clause 6b of the schedule 2, which talks about the restaurant service, it says it covers food or drink or any other article for human consumption, and it is wide, it is unrestricted by mode of consumption. So inhalation should qualify, so it should be considered as a this hookah should also be considered as a article for human consumption, and it should be covered in the restaurant service. And only express exclusion under 6b was alcoholic liquor, so there cannot be any other exclusion. Further, the hookah is never sold as standalone inside the parlor. They are served along with the food and beverages, so it should be considered as a naturally bundle and hence composite supply of restaurant service. So, however, the authority of for advanced ruling, they applied the principle of adjustum generis, and they said that food or article for human consumption, food or drink or any other article for human consumption. So any other being a generic term, it should take its color from the surrounding word, that is food or drink. And in common parlance, food or drink means something which is ingested or digested, whereas hookahs are generally inhaled, they are not ingested, and hence they are outside the clause 6b. They retain their independent identity even if they are served with food, they are separately supplied. Restaurants are otherwise smoke free zones under the this applicable statutory provisions. So hookah is not naturally incidental to the food service. They may be they are separate. So the transaction may be a composite supply, but principal supply for this hookahs will remain the supply of tobacco or non-tobacco goods, that is hookah, and should be taxed separately. Resultantly, they said that restaurant service is 5%, but tobacco hookah would be at a higher rate and non-tobacco hookah would be at a 18% rate, but not as a restaurant service. Aggrieved thereof, the applicant filed the appeal before the appellate authority. The lower authority treated it wrongly as a sale of goods. It is a labor driven and experience driven service where this service element is major, and consumption, and in their understanding, the consumption is not statutorily confined to ingestion. Even in terms of the Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Act, the smoking itself is a form of consumption, and the principle of adjustum generis also was misapplied, because in case of unambiguous language, they should not be narrowed down by implication. They relied on various jurisprudence, and they said there is no express exclusion of hookah under clause 6b of or the notification 11, etc. So in nutshell, they argued that it should be treated as a restaurant service. However, the appellate authority, reiterating the position taken by the lower authority, and confirmed that it is not the appeal is not maintainable, and hookah, both whether it's a tobacco based hookah or others, they should be treated as a supply of goods, and they are taxable as per applicable the HSN rate for the supply of goods, and not as a restaurant service. And accordingly, the appeal was dismissed.
So appellate AARs never fails to surprise.
Sorry, Ayush?
I'm saying these AAR, Advanced Ruling Authorities, never fails to surprise.
Yes, undoubtedly.
So, I mean, what you can say about these, because somehow they have to be pro revenue. Whatever the reasonings they give does not, fit with me at all. As the appellant rightly stated that a hookah is also for consumption, so any item fit for human consumption should fall under this category only. And the applicable rate should be the same as, on the restaurant services, according to me. So let's see if this advanced ruling is challenged in high courts and what the courts have to say in this. But for the time being, this applicant has to follow the same, whatever the advanced ruling has stated.
And one more thing, if we have to consider any other article for human consumption should be related to food or drink only, then there would be no need to add this extra phrase, because food and drink itself is a very generic term, and it
Correct.
could be it. And I don't think anything else could be covered in any other article for human consumption, which is not a food, not a drink, but akin to food or drink.
Correct, correct, correct. See, okay, the next.
This will, but this will have a major implication on a lot of industry, a lot of
It
players
is
in this
going to
industry.
have a major implications just like the parotha classification that was
Correct, correct.
discussed. Same in the, like, I mean, pulp-based drinks, water-based drinks, milk-based drinks, every other food item having been misclassified somewhere else. And now this restaurant services, the hookah being misclassified by the AAR, because see, whether it is an AAR or not, these things tends to become highlights, very quickly. So only the single line that hookah is not a restaurant service, hookah is not a restaurant service is going to be floated as a news everywhere on the WhatsApp group, and nobody is going to check that whether it was an AAR, triple AAR, High Court, Supreme Court, and on all of them, whether it is applicable to us or not, on whose it is applicable. So that is why again it will create a lot of confusion in the industry related, because this AR again going to create a lot of confusions like earlier ARs did.
I'm just thinking, what if somebody has taken a different position and
Hmm.
later on CBIC comes up with clarification similar to this ice cream parlors and all?
Ice cream
What will
parlor.
happen to past cases
As it varies basis.
as it varies basis?
Yes, as it varies basis is their favorite term.
Right.
Okay, so next case
So
that I
we'll
will,
move for,
yes,
yes, hi.
this is, I think we can discuss the last case and we'll take up the queries then. So the last case that I will like to discuss is Shri Ganesh Infra versus State of UP Allahabad High Court. Gopal, I must tell you, I'm very fond of Allahabad High Court these days. They pass such beautiful judgments in the favor of assessees these days. One more judgment. Obviously, a correct ratio is not that anything has been said in this. The registration of the taxpayer was cancelled from 2020, and the registration was cancelled by on the application of the taxpayer only. So after the cancellation of the registration, a show cause notice was uploaded on the GST portal demanding a differential amount between the just between GSTR 2 and GSTR 3B, different demanding differential ITC. Obviously, the registration being cancelled, the taxpayer was under no obligation to to open that portal and check whether any SCN is there or not. So the show cause notice was uploaded on the portal. The order was also uploaded on the portal, and then the recovery initiated. Then the court department, then the taxpayer got to know that there is some order against them or there is some demand against them, which was challenged directly in the High Court, and the High Court very categorically said, that once a registration has been cancelled, no taxpayer can be expected to check their portal on a daily basis or on a frequent basis to check whether there is any show cause notice or not. For all the cancelled suppliers, for all the cancelled dealers, these show cause notices and orders should be only communicated through a courier mode, or they should be emailed to their registered email ID. But the best method to communication is by emailing is by courier is to courier them through on their registered address. So they said that there has been a violation of principle of natural justice and the order was set aside, but again the department was given the liberty to issue a proper notice to the petition in accordance with the law. So I was just the judgment, the ratio lays down is again correct in accordance with the law, but again at the end the Allahabad High Court has said that the liberty has been given to the department to issue a fresh show cause notice in accordance with the law. So the only point in this is that Allahabad High Court has previously also said in various judgment that common portal is not the proper way to communicate the order. Now, in specifically in the case of cancelled suppliers, they have said that in case of cancelled suppliers, show cause notice cannot at all be uploaded on the portal. They have to be communicated through any physical mode. So let's see how what the department does further. How the department follows these judgment at the ground level is to be checked, I think, Gopal. You're on mute.
Yeah. I also agree. Like if somebody is or registration has already been cancelled, how can they even for the before registration also, if before cancellation also, taxpayers are not checking the portal daily.
Hmm.
But in the orders, when these things are challenged, the officers, including the appellate authority, they simply put a reason that the appellant is filing returns regularly, so they should be checking the portal daily. But the return section and this notice section is completely different. There is no linking. So if somebody is not able to check notices daily, specifically when they are not getting the reminders on mail, etc., so it is very difficult for them. And the objective of this system should be to promote justice, not to promote something not to unnecessarily disturb the justice or not to harass the taxpayers in endless litigation. Like recently, in one case, we filed the appeal regarding this time limit issue. So the appellant could not file the appeal for around 1.5 years because he was not aware about the order being issued on the common portal. There was no communication, no nothing. When the bank attachment happened, the appellant got to know that there is the requirement to file the appeal. They were not even aware that order has been passed. So we filed the appeal, and the same thing was challenged. That order was issued on relying on the judgment of Allahabad High Court only in the case of Bambino Enterprise. So we filed the appeal with all these grounds that this appeal should be heard on merits. Surprisingly, the APL 02 and the hearing notice has been issued only on portal. So and the taxpayer is again not aware, and the first hearing notice was issued
हाँ
subsequently for the second hearing notice, because the appellant was not aware that there has been a hearing notice and the
हाँ
authorized representative has to go.
हाँ
So when the second notice was issued, somehow while filing the return, we checked that something is pending there.
हाँ
So we communicated and we're aware, we could get to know that yes, we have to appear before the authority in this case.
हाँ
But even after relying on this issue ground, we are challenging that particular thing. But same thing is happening in the at the appellate stage also.
as well, right?
Right. So this is difficult, and a post cancellation, though nobody is expected to check the, because we have cancelled for that reason only, that we are not liable for registration or for whatever reason. So why should we be bothered with the compliances?
Right, right.
There are at least 15 judgments I remember, or 10 judgment, 10 to 15 judgments, where this has been mentioned that the authority should take a second step to remind the taxpayer by alternate mode.
I this Associate Transport Molasses Allahabad High Court only, they said that when the reminder, this I if I am correct, when the reminders and itself were issued on the portal and assessee was not replying, then the department should have applied their application of mind by going one step further and intimating the assessee about the notice of the order
Correct.
or through any other mode other than on the common portal.
Correct. They have mail ID, they have phone number, and in fact, if you like notice for the return filings, if you don't file return by 15th or 16th, you get a reminder that if you file your GST, and they give it a give it like a generic
Yes,
message.
yes,
If
yes.
not, if filed, ignore. So they are sending up. So they can send maybe monthly reminders. If you have any notice on portal, please check. If not, kindly ignore. So
Right,
for this also, they should have taken some different steps, which should either we should promote justice and transparency.
right. I think we can now open the floor for queries. If anybody wants to ask any query related to GST on any topic.
So we can take queries from the this participants itself first.
Yes.
या आयुष जी।
Yes, sir.
जी जी सर, एक क्या है कि एक पिक्यूलर केस है। ये क्लाइंट का जो है, वो सप्लायर ने पेमेंट बिल की इनवाइस की रिसीव किए बगैर ही उसने जीएसटी की पेमेंट कर दी और उसने 2B में डाल दिया है।
ठीक है।
तो तो उसको जो इनपुट टैक्स अगर वो ले लेता है उस इनवाइस की, बीइंग 2A में भी डाल दिया सप्लायर ने, तो उसको डिसअलाउ हो सकता है क्या कि आपने पेमेंट नहीं करी है? पेमेंट अभी तक नहीं हुई है, 22-23 का केस है। तो परचेजर ने पेमेंट अभी भी नहीं करी है, उसको फाइनेंशियली प्रॉब्लम थी और वो सब थी,
सर,
लेकिन सप्लायर ने पेमेंट कर दी है टैक्स की।
नहीं, सप्लाई ने पेमेंट कर दी है सर, उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। 180 डेज का
ओके।
रूल है। अगर आपने
जी सर।
180 डेज में सप्लायर को पेमेंट नहीं करी है तो आपको आईटीसी रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा। उसके
अच्छा।
बाद रूल 37 है। रूल 37 ये कहता है कि जब भी आप सप्लायर को पेमेंट कर देंगे, आप दोबारा से क्रेडिट ले सकते हैं। उसकी कोई भी टाइम लिमिट नहीं है। जैसे हमारे पास टाइम लिमिट होती है ना अवेलमेंट की, कि
जी
हम
सर। जी सर।
30 नवंबर तक ही क्रेडिट ले सकते हैं ऑफ द सब्सिक्वेंट ईयर। बट
जी
रीअवेलमेंट
सर।
में एज पर रूल 37 कोई भी टाइम लिमिट नहीं है। तो वट एवर रीजंस दिस रिसिपिएंट हैज, कि उसके पास फाइनेंसेस नहीं है, पैसे जो भी है,
जी
बट इफ
जी
ही हैज
सर।
नॉट पेड द पेमेंट, जेन्युइन पेमेंट टू द सप्लायर, देन ही इज लायबल टू रिवर्स द क्रेडिट।
सर आयुष जी, ये हम इसमें नहीं ले सकते कि डिपार्टमेंट को तो जीएसटी मिल गया है, वेदर वी
ये दोनों
इट इज
अलग
आवर।
अलग कंडीशंस हैं, बिल्कुल लॉ में। सर देखना
जी
पड़ेगा,
सर।
ये जानना पड़ेगा
जी
कि
सर।
जीएस आईटीसी जो है, वेरियस
जी
सुप्रीम
सर।
कोर्ट जजमेंट्स में भी ये कहती है कि स्टैट्यूटरी एक वेस्टेड राइट है। मतलब कि
जी
जो
सर।
लॉ
जी।
में लिखा है आपको वो फॉलो करना पड़ेगा, तभी वो राइट आपको वेस्ट होगा। अगर
ओके
लॉ में
ओके।
दो कंडीशन लिखी हुई है, कि पहली कंडीशन ये कहती है कि सप्लायर ने गवर्नमेंट को पे कर देना चाहिए, तो वो कंडीशन भी सेटिस्फाई होनी चाहिए। अगर दूसरी
राइट सर।
कंडीशन ये कहती है कि आपने सप्लायर को पेमेंट कर देना चाहिए, तो वो कंडीशन भी सेटिस्फाई होनी चाहिए। आप
जी
दोनों
जी। तो
कंडीशंस पे ऐसा नहीं कह सकते कि दोनों में से एक सेटिस्फाई होगी तो मैं आईटीसी ले लूंगा।
ओके ओके सर, सरकार को तो दोनों साइड से बेनिफिट हो जाएगा ना, सप्लायर ने भी दे दिया और अगर ऑर्डर आ जाता है अगेंस्ट में तो बायर को भी देना पड़ेगा। तो जीएसटी
सर
वो
जो
हम
भी है, लेकिन हाँ, वो तो हो जाए।
वो लेना चाह रहे थे एक बार। अपील में कि ये सर जीएसटी तो मिल गया उनको, तो ये नहीं ले सकते, कहने का मतलब नहीं ले सकते,
सर एक
इट विल बी अगेंस्ट।
रेवेन्यू न्यूट्रल का ग्राउंड आप ट्राई कर सकते हैं, बट आई डोंट थिंक वो इतना इफेक्टिव रहेगा। गोपाल, यू हैव एनी व्यू?
Ayush, one more thing could be taken here. I think there are few advanced rulings, positive and negative both. If we
ओके
can adjust this through book adjustment or some other mode, even if the
राइट, यस,
right.
स्पीक, यस यस, सॉरी, हाँ।
So
जी जी
maybe
गोपाल
we
जी।
can say because this payment is not payment should be done, but it is not mandatory that you have to pay through cash or bank account in monetary form. So if it could
ओके
be recorded as an understanding between the because there are I think few pending cases also where this particular ground has been taken that the payment terms has to be seen as per the contract. When the law says fails to pay within 180 days, the failure attracts only when the contract stipulates a failure. So if we can have an understanding with the supplier that we'll pay maybe later on or we are not paying, this is adjusted as by way of book adjustment. So maybe that ground can be taken. But
हेलो।
again, this will remain a litigation prone area. Specifically, when the law says 180 days, it has to be 180 days.
जी जी
If
जी।
not paid,
ओके।
I think the law says 180 days from the date of invoice, if I am not wrong. In
right, right.
check, it specifically says that 180 days from the date of invoice. Now, what constitute failures is again, we have given various opinions in that, but what constitute failures and what does not constitute failure. Failure is only when you are liable to pay as per the contract, but you are not paying. If you are disputing the payment, then that is not a failure to pay.
जी
And
जी
again, there are many judgments on the book adjustments as well. See, if it can be done through book adjustment, then it is well and good, because book adjustments are the recognized form of payment only.
राइट
But
सर।
other than that, saying that it through a contractual, it is not a failure to pay. I mean, it is an aggressive approach, but can be taken if the client is ready to litigate.
राइट सर, राइट सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Yes. Anybody else wants to ask any query? Himanshu, if you're speaking, you're not audible. Hello. Any other participant has any query?
Ayush, meanwhile, others are asking query. I have one query which I received from somebody, so we can discuss it for the benefits of others also.
Yes.
So like there are two modes of payment of tax. One is the regular through filing of GST return, GSTR 3B, and in case there is any payment which is not made through the GSTR 3B or which is identified subsequently as not paid, so we can pay through DRC 03. Now, what would happen in case of payment of RCM through DRC 03? Because when we are not making payment of when we are making payment of RCM through DRC 03, there is no separate column or table to report it as an RCM liability, but we are making the payment. Can we claim the credit in GSTR 3B? Last year, I think almost near the due date of GSTR 9, around last week of December, there was some update on the portal and a new ledger has been created on the portal. Again, not from the law, but there's a ledger, RCM liability ledger. And with respect to that, there's an advisory also which says that if there is a mismatch when there is negative liability in RCM ledger, you
Hmm.
have taken credit more than what you have paid in RCM. So that will be added back to your liability. The negative will be added back to your liability and you have to make payment. So if somebody has made payment through DRC 03, but for credit, they can only claim through table 4A5, table 4A4 of table 4A of GSTR 3B. So, but there is no payment in table 3 of GSTR 3B. So there will be mismatch and negative amount will be reflected in RCM liability ledger, which will be again added back to the liability. So practically, it's not possible to claim the credit of what is paid through DRC 03. So what is the legal position? How one should tackle it in both the cases when the amount is not high amount is involved to take it to tribunal or the high court level, and on the other hand, when a huge stake is involved. So what should be the approach?
See, first of all, talking very strictly of the legal provisions, When if it is a case of section 17.5H, then obviously when the tax has been paid under section 75H or I think when the tax has been paid under section 74 through DRC 03, then we cannot take the credit of it. Otherwise, when there was a mismatch in the returns and we got to know that later and we paid the tax through DRC 03. So justice. When the tax is when the this taken through taxes paid through DRC 03 and the credit is taken through the GST returns, what needs to be checked under the law is whether the tax has been paid under the RCM or not through cash. If it is not paid, credit is not allowed. Sorry, if it is paid, credit is allowed. The manner of payment is not written at all under the law, that it has to be paid under section through GST returns only. Once the liability has been accepted, voluntarily paid through a mismatch, then a credit of that should be allowed to me. This is, I think, according to me, should be the strict legal interpretation. Also, considering again that we discussed whether the substantive conditions over the procedure should prevail. Substantively, if the tax has been paid to the government and for which I am allowed the credit, it is only an RCM payment and I am allowed the credit, I should be allowed the credit irrespective of the manner of payment. Whether through DRC 03 or through GST returns, I should be allowed the credit. Now, now the question specifically was the practical approach to tackle it related to a person where no substantial amount is involved and cannot litigate it. See, now whether litigation has to be, if the person cannot, this is the only a litigative approach. When you're talking about the RCM liability ledger that is being generated on the portal now, and so sorry, Gopal, but I'm not aware exactly how this works. I am aware that this RCM liability portal is there, register is there. So what if there is a zero liability paid and 100 rupees ITC taken under RCM? This will show -100 in that ledger, and then that 100 will be added to my liability under subsequent period. This is how it works.
No, from this period, like if you are talking about like as on today, if somebody does not have any negative liability, what will happen? I think the portal does not allow itself that shows mismatch. But for the when it was when it was introduced, so if somebody has a negative liability accumulated, they said it will be negative, and from that period onwards, like December period onward, you will have the option either you will get the entire liability added back to your liability, entire negative amount. And going forward, either it will be positive or it will be zero.
So that amount was editable also, right?
RCM liability ledger, I don't remember it was editable. I think that was this ITC reclaim ledger was editable.
See, if the portal itself
Irrespective,
restricts.
irrespective of that, this particular question emerges because in audit, what the audit authorities does, they compare the GSTR 3B and they see that there's a difference. And they say that because you have paid through DRC 03, it is not in the RCM category. At the adjudication level, it is difficult because the adjudicating authority treats it as a non-compliance, and they simply may demand either you'll have to go to appeal. In appeal, you may get a favorable order, but till the adjudication level, it is not permissible. It is not allowed generally.
And also, I remember there are judgments under this service checks as well when the tax was paid through only through TR6 challan, TAR6 or TR6, I don't remember. TR6 challan. And see, RCM was paid through TR6 challan. The assessee forgot to record that challan as the RCM liability under the ST3 returns, but the credit of the same was claimed. So there are judgments of the system only under the GST, under the service tax era only, that once the tax has been paid through TR6 challan, the ITC, the sended credit of the same should not be denied merely on the ground that the same was not reflected in the ST3. So the same judgments can be referred to here as well, wherein we can say that once the tax has been paid through DRC 03, ITC of the same should be allowed.
Right. Same for import cases also. When the reassessment was not done, but the differential duty was simply paid through TR6 challan.
Right.
So there was also dispute.
Yes,
But
yes,
for
yes.
the
Import case is
but
also
there
there.
but there the CBSE clarified that TR6 is not a proper document for the claim of credit.
But I think we have judgments that when the TR6 challan is there in case of import, then you can take the credit. After that, this clarification came. I think I don't remember specifically.
Right.
Uh, but let's see what the courts has to say in this.
But Ayush, because when we are discussing this too, so you opened two more questions. One is when you said that 17.5 I think you were talking about tax paid under 74.
Huh.
So there are again queries in this respect also. When the adjudication is done or the audit is done, single notice is generally issued for the entire period covered. There are no separate notice. And when the department issues 74 notice, they cover RCM also. So for the RCM cases, there are other judgments from service tax also that it is in case of a revenue neutral situation,
74.
fraud allegation cannot be there. So whether the 17.5 I will in any case be applicable in case of RCM or it is not, because fraud cannot be alleged for RCM cases.
See, fraud cannot be alleged for RCM cases. That is correct. There are, first of all, I will say that there are judgment on both the sides of it. There are judgments as well that when the fraud has been deducted during audit, whether it is RCM or not, this fraud is applicable. This fraud is there. So what we are talking right now about is not the what the court is subsequently going to held, that whether there was a fraud or not. What we are talking right now about is, say I come to you as a department and say that Gopal, you have done the fraud and you have not paid the RCM liability, and you agree to it. I issue a show cause notice under section 74, and you agree to it and you pay the liability of, and you are not litigating it any further. Then there is a case you can now take a credit of it as.
Right,
But
right, right.
but when
If
see, because you have agreed to it, now when you're
agreed to.
litigating it already, and subsequently it is being held that the demand should be paid under section 73, then the ITC shop the same should be allowed.
Correct, correct, correct.
Hmm.
Right. Ayush, one last thing that we can discuss for the benefit of all. Would you like to discuss about that 60 days window period given? Because the GST 80 due date for the pending cases is 31st July, and
Hmm.
GST 80 has recently rolled out a token mechanism. So both the aspect whether legally it is permissible or not, and even if it is permissible, so what is the practical, what is the how the we should prepare for next 60 days, an overview of this.
If I talk about practically first, it is now clear to all that no extension is going to come. 31st July is the last day to file the appeal. So to all those taxpayers, appellants who have still not prepared the appeal, who are still in the process of drafting, collating the documents, I can from my personal experience tell you that there are still challenges on the portal. The earlier challenge that we were facing till 30th June was that the portal was not working smoothly. But right now, there is no such challenge that portal is not working smoothly. But there are other challenges that whenever you file any field, it becomes blank automatically. A second entry of the same field generates automatically. So there are various technical errors that are there on the portal. What I'll say is just generate a token as of now. Get yourself 60 days for filing the appeal. Prepare the appeal and file the appeal is the most practical approach, because artificially you will have to extend the timeline of filing the appeal. There is no other extension going to come. So this is the approach that many taxpayers, because what I can see is from the statistics given on the GST 80 portal only, there was supposed to be 5 lakh appeals that were supposed to be filed, and I don't think so. Only 1 lakh appeal or so has been filed, Gopal, if I'm correct. So still many taxpayers are sleeping, or many are still in the at the preparation stage only. When I talk about legally, I think the tribunal has the power to make its own rules of how to of filing the appeal, and not of the related to the tribunal proceedings and related to the tribunal filings. So if the tribunal in itself has given this concession, I don't think so it can be there's any legal challenge in it. Gopal, if you have any other view?
Sorry.
I think it cannot be legally challenged. Do you have any other view?
See, from the taxpayer's perspective, nobody is going to challenge this
Correct.
because it is beneficial for them. From the departmental perspective, that may be challenging because if they are saying that you can file it up to 60 days, so whether the filing, they are saying you file it is indirectly an intent to file in when you are generating the token. So the tribunal can make its own rules and regulations procedure, but it should be in sync with the GST law. It cannot override that. So whether that would be the department may challenge that, but as of now, this is beneficial for us, so we should go with that. But
Right.
then this token, so I have this particular doubt or a question. When this 60 days, how the condonation period is going to be counted? Let's say I generated the token on 31st. Now
Hmm.
I get the 60 days, which is August and September, roughly assuming 30th of September. Now, if I don't file by 30th, as per section 112, I have 3 months of condonable period. So whether I'll get 1 month of condonation, that is up till 31st of October, or whether I'll get condonation to be whether the
I
condonable
think
period
it's
to
only
be
1 month condonation or 3 months condonation, 1 month,
3 plus 3. In first appeal, it is 1 month.
3.
In first appeal, it is 1 month. Here it is 3 plus
I
3.
am not wrong. Okay, maybe. Okay. Yeah, so your question comes is that how should the condonation period be counted? That only 1 month should be given as the condonation, or the another than 3 months should be given as the condonation, right?
Correct, because these 60 days are the when we are filing it within those 60 days period. So they are saying it will be considered as filed within the normal period, basically. It will be considered as filed. So
Correct,
it means they are treating that 60 days as a normal period.
correct.
So whether I'll get 3 months fresh condonation or 1 month condonation, or I'll not get any condonation at all, which cannot be true, in my understanding.
See, as per the GST procedures only, I have been given 60 days extra. So keeping that aside, I should be given 3 months more to have the condonation period with me, as per me. Because see, condonation is something which was a fault of my own, but beyond my control, I can say. Like if I am not able to file the appeal because of the tribunal, because of the portal glitches, portal irregularities, it cannot be counted as a condonation period according to me. Condonation is something I was medically unfit. I was, or maybe there was any other reason I did not have the amount to pay pre-deposit, say, and it was supposed to, any party's payment was supposed to come, and then I paid the pre-deposit and filed the appeal. So there has to be something from my end only, that the delay has been caused because of me. For any reason, my CA was not available, my authorized legal representative was not available, but to whom I gave the appeal, I did not check the portal. Anything can be there. When I say that there is, when I do when there is a condonation of 3 months, but when I am not able to file the appeal just because I was not given the opportunity on the portal, a fresh, yeah, a fair opportunity, I can say, that because of tech portals and irregularities, those 60 days should not be counted in the condonation period.
So basically, indirectly, we are seeing that this 60 days is the normal period within 112 subsection 1.
Correct.
Because condonation, strict reading of the law says that 3 months will be counted from the date expiring on as per 112 subsection 1.
Hmm.
So whether that 112 subsection 1 is expiring on 31st July
Or
or 60 days from 31st July, which is September, 30th September.
correct. That is the position that we have to see, because this 60 days extension has been given under by referring to what sections under the law, or from where they are generating the power to give the 60 days extension.
Correct. That's the moot question.
Good question, right? Right. That has to be checked, Gopal.
Right. I think we can wrap up for today, Ayush.
Yes, we can wrap up for today. So thank you everyone for joining this session. We hope to see you next Saturday at the same time, 12 o'clock, for our 23rd session. Thank you so much for being a lovely audience. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.